So what we have here are the player table and the sport table, and these two tables are linked, and they've been linked on the basis of sport ID. Now what if I want to join these two tables together to create a new table? For example, uh, we can join these two tables based on sport ID, because sport ID is common between these two tables, right? So we can join these two tables, and if I join these two tables, uh, these two tables will join and create something like this, you know. And if you were to analyze this, this new table that has been created, this is the new table that has been joined and created. Uh, this half right here, this is the dividing point, so to speak, right? Because you can see that this side of the table is coming from the player side, and that this side of the table, this side of the joint table, is coming from the sport side, right? So you can see that. So this new table is basically, this has been created using the sport IDs, and what we can see here is that the sport IDs that were there in the player table uh, were 2 and 3, right? Whereas in the sport table we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sport IDs, right? But when we were joining these two tables together, only sport IDs that were found in the player table, that were common with the player table, 2 and 3, only those rows were combined together. So we can see that this is the player table with sport IDs 2 and 3, and from the sport table the data that we've picked up includes only sport IDs 2 and 3. So this joint table will not create all the data values in the sport table. It will only contain the data values that are common, the data values of sport ID that are common or that are found in the player table. Okay, so that is the basis. Only the common sport IDs, they combine and create this joint table. Okay, let's see how we can do this in database. How can we join the table in database? So what we want to do is, uh, we want to select all the fields in our joint table from the sport table as well as the player table. So select star from the sport table as well as the player table. So this is going to include all the fields from both the tables, and we are going to join them on the basis of sport ID. So we want to say that sport.sport ID should be same as player.sport ID. This here, this right here is our joining condition. Okay, just remember this. If you want to join the two tables together, this is the condition that we want. The common field was sport ID. So what we are saying is that these are the two tables, sport and player, and we want to join them using this statement. Just remember this. Okay, so in the where clause, just write down the common fields, right? So sport.sport ID and player.sport ID. So these were the two linked fields, right? And here we are saying select all the rows. Select all the fields, right? When we execute this query, you'll see that we are returned with the sport table as well as the player table. So this is what is coming from the sport table, sport ID and sport name, and then we have the player table with the player ID, the first name of the player, the last name of the player, date of birth of the player, gender of the player, and sport ID, which is the foreign key, right? That was part of the player table. So what we've created is a joint table. Now what we can do is we can do several things. Why should we view all the fields? We don't want to view all the fields in our joint table. So we only want to view the first name, the last name, and the sport name. So what I want to say is I want to view player dot first name, player dot last name, and sport dot sport name. It's not sport.sport ID, but sport.sport name, right? So what I'm saying is, this time, although the table is joined, because the condition is there, the table is joined, I don't want to I don't want to view all the fields. Rather, I'm only interested in the first name of the player, the last name of the player, and I'm only interested in the name of the sport. So when I execute this query, you'll see that it's only returning me the first name, the last name, and the uh, sport name of the player. So Roger Federer plays tennis, Novak Djokovic plays tennis, Hassan Ali plays cricket, Shoaib Akhtar plays cricket, and Maria Sharapova plays tennis. Now what I can also do here is, now the table is joined using this condition, right? But I only want to find out the first name and the last name of the players that play tennis, right? So in that case, I can, besides this joint condition, this should always stay there because this is joining our tables together. I additionally add something and I say join these two tables, and also look for records where the sport.sport ID equals 2. Remember, the sport ID of tennis was 2, right? So what I'm saying is, whilst these tables are joined, you should also look for you should also filter records on the basis of sport ID, and the sport ID should be 2. When I execute this, you'll see that only players who play tennis, Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, and Maria Sharapova, only they will be selected. And you can see that that's what's happened here, right? If I want to watch players, if I want to find out the players that play cricket from a joint table, I can just change the sport ID to 3 and execute, and we'll see that Hassan Ali and Shoaib Akhtar, let me just press enter here so that you're able to view the entire query, right? So we have this part is joining our tables together, and additionally, we've used the sport ID to filter the records, right, from our joint table.